I'm not going to repeat myself. I'm not going to marry you. I don't want to talk about it anymore. My voice was steady, but inside my heart twisted. I thought you loved me. Donna's eyes, wide and full of hope, searched my face. You know I love you. For Christ's sake, I tell you that every time I see you. I tried to control the frustration building in me. Every word felt like I was inching further from her, from everything I ever wanted. Then why can't we get married? Donna's voice wavered, her fingers trembling at the edge of the blanket. We've been through this 1,000 times. The words stung, but I couldn't stop myself. It wasn't just a simple disagreement anymore. It was an old, worn-out argument that never had an end. You know why? Breakup. I see the worst of what people do to each other every single day. I see the aftermath of marriages falling apart, the violence, the anger. I can't do that, Donna. I won't. Not to you. Not to me. The water in the shower cascaded over my face, cooling the heat of my words. I had to clear my head. My shift was starting soon and I needed to focus. But as I reached for the soap, Donna's hands slipped around my waist, her warm touch pulling me back into her. She knew she'd pushed me too far today, but damn it, she knew how to make everything else fade. Her touch soothed my anger, almost making me forget why we fought so often. God, I'd do anything for her. Well, almost anything. The truth was, marriage was the line I couldn't cross. Later at the station, everything felt the same. The routine, the shift, the small talk with the guys. But it wasn't the same tonight. Something felt off. I couldn't shake the feeling that everything, with Donna, with life, was slipping out of my control. I tossed the keys to Bart. You drive. He knew the unspoken message. Something wasn't right. I didn't have to explain. We went through the list of addresses like we always did. Routine, predictable. But for some reason, the night felt different, like the calm before a storm. The city seemed quieter than usual, and I couldn't focus on the job. Not with Donna's words echoing in my head. At 2:15 a.m. the radio crackled, snapping me out of my thoughts. The dispatcher's voice came through with the call, and I immediately tensed up. David 37, 10-6 on 619 Ridgerist. A domestic disturbance. Not what I needed today. But it wasn't up to me. I glanced at Bart. We both knew what this could be. Volatile, unpredictable. By the time we arrived, the street was already crowded with onlookers. The house was pristine, in one of those high-end neighborhoods where people prided themselves on maintaining their perfect little lives. But tonight that image shattered. The screams that filtered through the door told us everything. The situation was spiraling out of control. We moved in, weapons drawn, and rushed into the house. Bart tried the door, but I kicked it open. There was no time to waste. What we walked in on was far beyond a typical domestic call. Two people, completely oblivious to our arrival, were engaged in an intimate act. And standing silently to the side, bound to a chair, was a third man, completely naked, his head covered by a leather hood. Bart froze, his eyes wide with disbelief. I didn't have time to process the scene. Police! Don't move! Shouted. The man and woman turned. The woman scrambled to cover herself, but it was too late. Bart and I quickly subdued them. The third man remained silent, his tears soaking the hood. This wasn't just another arrest. This was something else entirely. As I processed the scene, my mind spun back to Donna, to the woman I loved, to the things we couldn't have because of my job. There was so much I couldn't give her, and I hated it. We separated the woman, Marcy, from the man. I took her to the kitchen to ask questions. The situation was bizarre, something out of a twisted book. Marcy explained everything, how she had tried to please her husband, Mark, by acting out his fantasy. She had picked up a man at a bar, brought him home, and slept with him, all to satisfy Mark's desire to watch. Didn't make sense. I couldn't understand why anyone would go that far for love, but there I was, sitting in the kitchen, listening to this woman who had broken every boundary in her marriage, all because of a book her husband had found. She didn't even realize how wrong it was until the moment she was sitting there, confessing to me. Later, as I left the house, I thought about the strange night. Mark and Marcy would likely work things out. They both loved each other deeply, despite the mess they'd made. They would move on, scarred but stronger. And me? I returned home to Donna, whose face greeted me with concern. She had no idea what I'd just witnessed, what I'd just been through. She was still asleep, but my thoughts were heavy. I climbed into bed beside her, taking her hand in mine. As I drifted to sleep, I thought about Mark and Marcy. I thought about Donna and how much I loved her. But love wasn't always enough. The next morning, Donna screamed in her sleep, jolting me awake. Before I could process, she was in my arms, her face soaked in tears. She held onto me tightly, and I felt every inch of the tension between us, all the unresolved feelings, all the things left unsaid. I took her hand, placing a ring on her finger, an unspoken promise. But in my heart, I knew it wasn't enough.